Rambam. We're learning the teachings of Maimonides, the laws of Yom Kippur. We begin today. The laws of Yom Kippur. Well, Elul is coming, so look at the, good timing. Shabbos Mevorchim this Shabbos. Okay. So, Avodas Yom Kippurim, the Avodah, the divine service that's on Yom Kippur. Right. So it's not so much, this is not so much about Yom Kippur in the synagogue. This is about Yom Kippur in the times of the Holy Temple. Right, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, what he does, and so on and so forth. Let's look. The laws of the Yom Kippur service, they contain one mitzvah to perform the entire service of Yom Kippur, as is described in the reading of Achrei Mos. Achrei Mos is in the book of Leviticus, that parsha. The sacrifices, the confessions, the sending away the goat, and the other services are unique to Yom Kippur, right? Okay. Number one, on the fast day of Yom Kippur, we sacrifice a continual offering in the morning. What's a continual offering? Anybody remember? What is that? What does it mean, continual offering? What is that in reference to?
Daily offering.
The daily offering. Thank you, Tim. That's the daily. Continual offering means the daily offering. What? How many days of the year is it offered? From 365 days. Let's go with that. How many days is it offered?
Every day.
It's 365 days, exactly. Very good. Just make it a Shabbos too, right? That's the Shacharis. That's the Shacharis, right? Okay. Give me 1 second. I have to move my feet. Sorry, give me one brief second.
Let's put yourselves. Let's put yourselves. But that would be okay, like the whole time. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up. If you really want to do it, you need something, you want to listen to a bunch of flowers, right? Flowers, but strictly speaking, in your case, just might be because you are Jewish. So,
a good conflict.
yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. So that's what. It's just your first session. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That first. Right. Remember the date.
Yes.
Right. This was the 15th of September 1995. Yeah. I was thinking never forget. For as long as I never.
Wow.
That's my favorite Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, I would send that over.
Mine is still. Thanks.
I'm very, sometimes with the television before I was quoted. Yeah, so as I said, considering the thing I was birthday, Christmas was influenced by Christmas.
Wow. You got it. Yes. Sorry.
All right, sorry, folks. Okay. So on the fast of Yom Kippur, we sacrifice continual offering in the morning and in the late afternoon, right? The daily sacrifice according to the order of followed every day, right? And additional sacrifices of the day are offered, right? The additional, this is, what additional is this?
So.
Right? We call right. It's called Musaf, but it's Musaf of what? Musaf of Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh. No, it's not Shabbos. It's not Rosh Chodesh. It's the Musaf of Yom Kippur. Right? It's Musaf of Yom Kippur. So what is it? In other words, we have a Musaf, which means additional offering on Shabbos. We have one on Rosh Chodesh. Each one is different, has its separate, offerings, right? So a bull, a ram, and 7 sheep, all these are burnt offerings, and a sin offering of a goat. 2 services performed outside in which it is eaten in the evening. Right? Can't be eaten on Yom Kippur because we fast them, right? Besides these additional offerings, these additional are sacrifice. A young ox as a sin offering, it is burned. A ram as a burnt offering. Both of these are brought by the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. Right, a ram which is brought from the communal funds, which is mentioned in the passage Achrim, it is a ram mentioned in the book of Numbers as part of the additional offering. It is called the ram of the people, El Ha'am. Okay. In addition, 2 goats are brought from communal funds. One is offered as a sin offering and it is burnt, and the other is a goat sent to Azazel. Right, it's sent to the cliff. That's the 2 goats, which you will be. We'll hear the whole story. Thus, there's a total of 15 animal sacrifices on this day, right? As additional offerings. 2 continual offerings, right? Totally includes the 2 continual offerings, meaning the daily offerings. A bull, 2 rams, 7 sheep. These are the all burnt offerings. 2 goats as sin offerings. 1 offered outside the temple building, which is eaten in the evening, and 1 whose blood is offered on the temple building, and which is burnt. And the bull of the high priest, which is a sin offering that is burnt. Okay. The sacrificial service for all of these 15 animals that are offered on this day may be performed only by the Kohen Gadol. Right. That's not the case every day or even on Shabbos, right? Or on festivals. But on Yom Kippur, it's only the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. This applies both.
He has a very busy day on that.
A very busy, yeah. This is his day. Well, I think we learned this, when we learned in Chumash and Rashi yesterday. Yeah, but yesterday, the day before, we learned Chumash, right? Any case, this applies to the Kohen Gadol anointed with the oil of anointment or initiated into the office of wearing the garments of the high priest. 2 ways he can be inaugurated, and either one, that Kohen Gadol does the entire thing. If Yom Kippur fell on Shabbos, even additional offering of Shabbos should be sacrificed only by the Kohen Gadol. Right? Means there'd be more offerings. Similarly, if the other service is performed on this day, the offering, the daily incense offering, kindling of the menorah's lamps are all performed by a married Kohen Gadol. As it says, and he shall atone for himself and his household. His household refers to his wife. So in other words, this Kohen Gadol has to be married, right? The Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Yeah, they have to be married. Yeah. Number 3. For 7 days prior to Yom Kippur, the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, departs from his home, and he stays in the chamber of the temple. This is a tradition received from Moshe, our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, it's not describing it here because that is already staying over here. It's over here. Staying over here. Or is it over here? You know what? second. Yeah, look at that. Not exactly sure with. Okay, he separated from his wife for these 7 days, lest his wife become nida in the midst of relations and he become impure for 7 days. Right? If she became, if she had her menstrual cycle began and they had relations, he would become spiritually impure and therefore he couldn't do the service because it's a 7 day cycle and thus unable to perform temple service. So he has to separate from his wife so he won't become impure, right? A substitute Kohen Gadol is prepared so that if this one becomes disqualified, the other may serve instead of him. Whether the disqualifying factor takes place when offering the continual offering in the morning, or disqualifying factor occurred after he offered his sacrifice, the person need not be installed in his office by offering a special sacrifice. Instead, the performance of sacrificial service of the day installs him. Now, usually there's an installation for someone to become the Kohen Gadol, right? It's to bring an offering. So here, if the Kohen Gadol became impure for whatever reason, right, he has to come immediately and take over the one who's second in command, who's there, to take his place. But his doing of the offering is his installation. And so the performance of sacrifice on that day installs him, and she began from the service where the other ceased. Right. After Yom Kippur, the first Kohen Gadol resumes his position, and the second ceases to serve in his capacity because there's no need, right, on a daily basis. All the mitzvahs incumbent on the Kohen Gadol are incumbent on him, but he does not carry out the service of the Kohen Gadol. If he does perform that service, his service is acceptable. When the first dies, he is appointed in his place. Okay. During the 7 days, he is sprinkled with ashes of red heifer on the third day after he separated, and on the 7th day, which is the day before Yom Kippur, lest he have contracted impurity from a corpse unknowingly. Maybe he became impure by touching a corpse, right? Or coming in a room with a corpse, and he didn't know. So therefore, the red heifer is done, the sprinkling, which is his purity for anybody who comes in contact with a corpse, right? If the 3rd or the 7th day of the sprinkling falls on Shabbos, the sprinkling is not performed, right? Because this is not a Shabbos activity. This is only to be careful that maybe unknowingly became impure. We figured that he's probably not impure. Kohanim are very careful about this because if they're impure and they do a sacrifice, right, they get charis, get an early death by the hands of heaven. So they're very careful with this. Yet, we're being super careful over here by doing the sprinkling that just in case, but if it fell out on Shabbos, the 3rd or the 7th day, we wouldn't do it. Actually, it's only the 3rd day, 7th day, because you can't go to Yom Kippur after Shabbos. We don't do that. For all of the 7 days, he is trained to perform temple service. He casts the blood on the altar, offers the incense, kindles the lamps, and offers the limbs on the continual offering on the altars prior, so they will be familiar with the temple service, right? It's sort of his training ground, those 7 days. He is given sages from the elders of the court who read the relevant passages for him and teach him the service necessary to be performed on the holy day and its order. They tell him, my sir, the Kohen Gadol, read by yourself, for perhaps you have forgotten or you never learned this point. All right. So they teach it to him, but he also has to learn on his own in order that he will become familiar with everything that is necessary to be done. On the day before Yom Kippur in the morning, they would have him stand at the eastern gates of the temple courtyard and cause bulls, rams, and sheep to pass before him so that he would be familiar with the custom and accustomed to the temple service. What does it mean that they go before him? What does that mean? Just seeing them is going to remind him of the various things that he needs to do. But this one, you got to do this. With that one, you got to do that, so on and so forth. Okay. Throughout these 7 days, food and drink are not withheld from him. Nevertheless, on the day before Yom Kippur, before nightfall, they would not let him eat amply, for indulgence of foods leads to sleep. And they would not let him sleep, lest he would have seminal emission. They would not feed him foods that increase semen, eggs, warm milk, and the like. In the era of the Second Temple, heresy erupted in Israel, and the Sadducees emerged. Sadducees are people that believed only in the written word and not the oral tradition. May they speedily perish. Oh, who did not believe in the oral law and who maintained that the incense offering on Yom Kippur would be placed on fire in the sanctuary outside the Parachis. When its smoke rose up, they would bring it into the Holy of Holies. They rationalized and interpreted the Torah's phrase, for a cloud will appear on the Kapporis, as referring to the cloud of the incense offering. So they took things in a literal fashion, the way they understood, which is not really truly literal. But in other words, they didn't accept the oral Torah. And so therefore they would bring actual smoke, bring actually into the Holy of Holies, something that should not be done. In contrast, according to the oral tradition, our sages learned that the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, should not place the incense on the coals only in the Holy of Holies before the ark, and he shall place the incense in the fire before God. Since the Second Temple era, the sages suspected that the Kohen Gadol would tend towards such heresy. They would have him take an oath on the day preceding Yom Kippur. They would tell him, "My sir, Kohen Gadol, we are agents of the court, and you are an agent and an agent of the court. We administer an oath to you in the name of who? God, of he who causes his name to dwell in the house, that you not deviate at all from what we told you." That is right. We went through all the laws with you, right? He was taught during those 7 days by the sages. So you got to follow precisely what you were taught and what you learned. The high priest would turn away and cry because they suspect him of heresy. And they would turn away and cry because they placed suspicion on a person whose conduct was unknown. Maybe he had no such thoughts in his heart, right? Imagine. But you have to do this to make sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It still manifested the grief of doing that because
Yeah.
they have to do it. But
Wow. Number 8. Throughout the entire night of Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol would sit and expound Torah teachings if he was a sage. Because sometimes the Kohen Gadol was a sage. Not necessarily. A holy person, but not necessarily a great scholar. Right? If he was a scholar, expositions were delivered in his presence. If he would frequently read the Bible, the Torah, he would read it aloud. If not, they would read for him so that he would not sleep. What would they read him? The Holy Scriptures, Chumash, or actually Tanakh. Huh? Chumash and Rashi, right?
it's funny. The
Yeah,
commentary
there was
says-
no Rashi then.
In the commentary, it says they read also Job,
Yeah,
Ezra.
Ezra, Chronicles, Daniel. Because they're filled with stories that would arouse the interest. Okay. If he sought to doze off, the young Levites would snap their fingers before him and say, "My sir, Kohen Gadol, stand up and cool your feet on the ground so that you will not sleep." They would keep him busy until the time for the slaughter of the morning sacrifice arrived. They would not have the sacrificial animal slaughtered until they were certain that dawn had broken, lest the animal be slaughtered at night. Wow. Okay, we can just do from chapter 2 of the first halacha, all the procedures involving the offerings of the continuing offerings, additional offerings of this day were performed by the Kohen Gadol, as we said, while he is wearing his golden garments. Golden garments is what he wore every day, this 8 golden garments. The unique services of this day, by contrast, are performed while he was wearing the white garments. The unique services of the day are the offering of the bull brought by the Kohen Gadol, the offering of the 2 goats, including the one that was sent to Azazel, right off the cliff, and the offering the incense in the Holy of Holies. All of these services are performed while wearing white garments only. All right, stop here. All right, folks. Well, wow, over 20 people learning right now. Amazing. Please, your mitzvah, send in.